There are sins that destroy your money, others that destroy your relationships, but some directly destroy your connection with Allah. And among them, sexual sins occupy a special place. They seduce, they attract, they appear beautiful. But behind that, they break the soul, they confine the heart, and they attract an anger that no one wants to be the target of. Today, we're going to talk about 4 sexual sins. The last one is so serious that it attracts the wrath of Allah in a way no believer can ignore. So stay until the end. Because understanding these 4 sins means understanding how to protect your heart, your honor, and your relationship with your Creator. 1. The temptation of the illicit. Have you ever felt that struggle taking place inside you? When no one is watching, that silent battle between what you know is right and what your heart burns to desire. That tension that sometimes prevents you from breathing normally, as if one part of you were shouting, "Resist," while another whispers, "Give in, it's nothing, just this once." The temptation of the illicit never arrives suddenly. It doesn't enter through the front door. It slips in gently, like a shadow, almost invisible. It all begins with a glance that lasts a little too long, a message that seems innocent, a complicity that seemed banal, and without you realizing it, your heart begins to grow attached, desire begins to take root, and the forbidden begins to seem less forbidden. But adultery is not simply an encounter between 2 bodies. It's an earthquake that shatters much more deeply. It shatters the trust others had in you. It damages the honor you once held, and above all, it cracks your own soul. Because in secret, only you know. You alone carry this weight that no one else can guess. And that's where the suffering begins. This sin doesn't destroy you immediately. No, it's more subtle, more treacherous. It's like a slow poison, circulating in the blood. You continue to live, to laugh, even to pray sometimes. But something has changed. Your prayers become heavy. Your conscience is more agitated. Your heart no longer has the same light. You know you've betrayed yourself. You know you've crossed a line that Allah had drawn not to deny you happiness, but to protect you from disaster. And this disaster is never limited to you. Because adultery, even hidden, even forgotten, leaves its mark. A family can be destroyed by a single mistake. A marriage can collapse because a heart has been seduced elsewhere. Children can carry the weight of a wound they didn't cause. And sometimes, an entire life collapses because a moment of pleasure has overtaken years of patience and righteousness. But deep down, you know what hurts the most? It's not the fear of being discovered. It's not the shame in front of others. It's that heavy silence, when you're alone in your room and you realize you've voluntarily turned your back on the one who gave you everything. It's that moment when you understand that you've exchanged closeness with Allah for a pleasure that was extinguished in a few seconds. Adultery isn't just the loss of a moment of purity. It's the loss of inner balance. Because every time you approach this sin, it's as if you're tearing a piece of your own heart away and leaving it behind. And the further you go, the more you empty yourself. And yet, why is it so difficult to resist? Because this desire was created powerful. Because it's rooted in human nature. But what distinguishes a believer is precisely this ability to tame the fire rather than letting it burn everything. It's easy to say, "I'm weak. It's only human." But true strength isn't giving in to what everyone else is giving into. True strength is standing firm, even when your soul wants to collapse. Think about it. How many times have you felt that emptiness after committing a sin? That moment when you realize the pleasure didn't last, but the guilt still clings. That emptiness is a sign. It's not just your imagination. It's as if Allah placed a mirror in front of you, so you could see the state of your soul. As if this inner pain were actually a warning, a reminder, a way of saying to yourself, don't continue, come back. So yes, adultery is a temptation that attracts. It presents itself as a sweetness, as a comfort when you feel alone, as an adventure when you're bored, as an escape when your life seems heavy. But behind this illusion, there's always the same result. An invisible cage that locks your heart away and prevents you from tasting true peace. And if you look closely, it's not just your body that's trapped, but also your mind. Because adultery isn't just an act you commit. It's an identity that begins to inhabit you. You no longer see yourself the same way. You no longer respect yourself the same way. And the more time passes, the deeper you sink into the idea that you no longer deserve Allah's light. But is this really true? Is it truly your destiny to remain in this circle? Or isn't this inner struggle you're feeling right now a sign that your soul still refuses to be chained? 2. The voice of lost stories. Imagine a young man. He has dreams, he has plans. His eyes shine when he talks about his future. He prays, he believes in Allah, but his faith is still fragile, like a small flame that the wind can extinguish at any moment. In his life, everything still seems possible. And then one day, she appears. At first, it was nothing. Just a smile, a banal exchange, an innocuous message. He told himself, it doesn't matter, I'm in control. I know how far I can go, but each conversation opened a new door. Each smile became a thread that wound itself around his heart. And he didn't even realize it. Little by little, complicity grew. And one evening, without even thinking about it, he crossed the line. He let himself be carried away by a forbidden relationship. At that moment, he felt alive, almost euphoric. He thinks, this is our secret. No one will ever know. I can handle this. But the next night, something changes. When he closes his eyes, he can no longer rest. His pillow becomes heavy. His heart beats faster. Guilt begins to eat away at his thoughts. He gets up to pray, but his words no longer carry the same weight. His gestures are empty, and he knows it. It's because something has broken inside him. The days pass, and what he thought he controlled is completely beyond his control. His thoughts become clouded. His plans, which seemed solid, begin to crumble one after the other. Doors that once opened easily close abruptly. Friends drift apart. His relationships become fragile. He doesn't understand why everything seems to be getting darker around him. But in reality, it's not the world that has changed. It's him. What he thought was a pleasure was actually nothing more than a chain. An invisible chain, but one that tightens ever tighter. A chain that not only holds back his steps, but also gently pushes him away from the light of Allah. And then begins another struggle, even more painful, because once you've tasted the forbidden, your soul becomes divided. Part of you wants to return, wants to find purity again, but another part is clinging, trapped like a bird that has tasted poison and can no longer do without it. He tries to convince himself. It's not so bad. Allah is forgiving. But deep down, he feels that each repetition of this sin extinguishes his inner light a little more. It's no longer simply an act. It has become a habit, and a habit is a prison. Guilt becomes his silent companion. When he laughs, it's there. When he goes out with his friends, It's there. When he sits down to pray, it's there. She whispers to him, "You're not worthy. You know very well that you're drifting away." And it's this invisible weight that ends up crushing his energy, his motivation, his ambition. So he loses himself. In his studies, he no longer has the same concentration. In his work, he no longer has the same happiness. In his family, he no longer has the same presence. Everything escapes him because he doesn't see that his heart has become sick. And perhaps you recognize yourself in this story. Perhaps you too carry a silent guilt. You move forward, you smile, you pretend. But you know very well that there is an invisible chain around your soul. You know that you have crossed a line and that since then, nothing has been the same. But think, why do you think you feel this emptiness? Why do you think you sleep badly? That your prayers are heavy? That your thoughts constantly revolve around this sin? It's no coincidence. It's a sign. It's Allah showing you that this path isn't for you. It's an inner alarm. As if your soul were crying out, "Come back." You won't find peace there. And look even deeper. How many stories have been shattered like this? How many young people full of potential have been extinguished because of a single forbidden relationship? How many luminous souls have lost their sparkle because they believed that illicit love was a shortcut to happiness? And how many today struggle with invisible scars in silence, trying to hide their pain from the whole world? Perhaps you too are one of those lost stories. Perhaps you've already crossed that line. Perhaps you believe you can't come back. But if you still feel that pain, that inner struggle, it's proof that your soul hasn't completely given in. Proof that the light isn't completely extinguished. And this story is not just that of this young man. It is that of thousands of souls today who are fighting in secret. 3. The hidden abomination. There are sins that fade away in secrecy and others that leave a dark stain on the soul. But there are also sins that don't just defile, they disfigure. They strip human beings of their dignity. They shatter what made them honored creatures. They reduce them to a distorted image of themselves. It's like black rain falling on pure land. An acid rain that doesn't nourish but destroys, corrodes, and erases everything that could flourish. This is what these forbidden practices are. They are disguised, cloaked in pretty words, hidden behind slogans like freedom, modernity, personal choice. But deep down, everyone knows, these are not innocent choices. They are rebellions against the very nature that Allah has given. Look around you. You will see troubled hearts, blurred identities, empty stares. Why? Because what was once noble, pure love, blessed union, desire oriented toward construction, has been transformed into something sterile. A desire that creates nothing, builds nothing, brings no blessing. A desire that consumes, wears down, leaves behind a desert with no future. What makes these sins even more terrifying is not just the act itself. It's the normalization, the laughter, the mockery, the knowing glances that say, "It's not so bad." The voices that repeat, "Everyone does what they want. Who are you to judge?" And slowly, imperceptibly, what was recognized as an abomination becomes a diversion, a habit, a banality. But when modesty disappears, what remains? Modesty is not a weakness. It's a veil of light placed over the heart. It protects, it uplifts. It reminds us that a human being is not only a body, but also a soul. And when this veil is torn away, the soul becomes exposed, fragile, distorted by desires that know no bounds. These forbidden practices are not just individual sins. They are like a contagion. They infiltrate societies. They redefine what it means to be a man, what it means to be a woman, what it means to love. They erase the line between purity and darkness. And once that line is erased, anything can be justified. Anything can be permitted. Everything becomes normal. But ask yourself, is it really normal? Is it really freedom to obey one's most destructive impulses? Is it really a victory to break the natural order that Allah has inscribed in every heart, in every body, in every breath of life? No, this is not freedom. It is slavery. A slavery crueler than iron chains, because those imprisoned in it believe they are free. They walk in illusion, they smile in illusion, they proclaim their pride in illusion. But at night, alone, they know. Their soul knows. Because no heart finds peace living in an abomination. It's like walking in a garden where all the flowers have been plucked and pretending that the emptiness is beautiful. It's like drinking salt water and swearing it quenches your thirst. It's like walking toward an abyss, claiming it's a luminous path. Everything sounds false, but those who get used to it end up no longer hearing the truth. And you? How many times have you seen these signs around you? How many times have you felt that inner unease when certain acts, once condemned by all, are now celebrated without shame? This discomfort is no accident. It's your soul resisting. It's your fitra, your original nature, refusing to be corrupted. Because deep down, every human being knows, even those who deny it, even those who hide behind excuses. They know they're destroying something sacred within themselves. And they try to stifle this knowledge with noise, distractions, parties, screens. But it always comes back. And the ultimate danger isn't committing the mistake once. The ultimate danger is getting used to the mistake, accepting it, applauding it, laughing at those who still resist. Because at that moment, it's not just the body that's lost. It's the soul that has stopped fighting. So take a good look around you. Observe what the world wants to normalize. Observe what your soul cries out to you, even when everyone says the opposite. Because there are sins that hurt, and others that destroy the very dignity of human beings. And these sins never go unnoticed in the eyes of Allah.
4. The sin that draws down. Allah's wrath. Stop for a moment. Ask yourself this question. Among all sins, which one is so grave that it not only drives away, but directly draws down Allah's wrath? Perhaps you're thinking of pride, idolatry, social injustice. Yes, these are serious sins. But there is a crime that goes even further. A crime that is not simply disobedience. A crime that is a transgression against the very order that Allah has inscribed in creation. And this crime is incest. Why? Because it destroys the most precious cell that Allah has given to human beings, the family. Because it crushes the weakest, those who cannot defend themselves. Because it corrupts the sacred love that was meant to protect, turning it into a weapon of destruction. Ask yourself this question. What is family, if not a refuge? A place where you should be safe, loved, respected, protected. But when that refuge becomes a place of betrayal, what remains? Where can the wounded child hide? Where can the heart that was broken by the very people who were supposed to raise them be rebuilt? And ask yourself again, what weight does the one who dares to cross this line carry? He is not just committing a personal sin. He is destroying a lineage. He is destroying a trust. He is destroying an order that Allah had established for humanity to live in peace. Every time this sin is committed, it is not just a victim who weeps. It is as if all of creation is darkened.
It is as if a cry rises to the heavens, invisible but powerful. A cry that rends the air, a cry that says, "O Allah, look at what has been done with your command, with your gift, with your trust." And this cry, Allah hears it. There is no night dark enough, no house closed enough, no secret well kept enough to hide this crime. And when this cry rises, divine wrath draws near. But have you ever thought about what Allah's wrath really means? It is not like the anger of a human being, which rages and then fades. Allah's wrath is the disappearance of blessings, the closing of doors, the darkness that descends on an entire life. It is a wrath that can mark generations. Because when the family order is broken, it is not just two people who suffer. It is an entire lineage that bears the scars. So ask yourself again, why is this sin so gravely condemned? Because it erases what is purest in humanity. Because it transforms protective love into destructive desire. Because it robs the child of their security and shatters in the parent what made them noble. And it's not just an individual matter. When this sin exists in a society and is hidden, minimized, or refused to be spoken about, the entire society draws down the wrath of Allah. Because it has allowed an abomination to take root at the very heart of what should be sacred. Have you ever felt that deep unease when you hear stories of abuse, incest, or families destroyed by hidden crimes? That chill that freezes your heart, as if your whole being were screaming that this is an unbearable injustice? That chill isn't just empathy. It is your soul that recognizes an abomination. It is your soul that knows that this is not a simple sin, but an aggression against the very order that Allah has inscribed in the world. And imagine for a moment, if you, a simple human being, feel so much pain at the thought of this crime, then what is Allah's anger in the face of such a transgression? What is the Creator's reaction when what should be pure, sacred, protected, is transformed into an abomination? This is why this sin is unlike any other. This is why it attracts Allah's wrath in a particular way. Because it not only destroys the soul of the perpetrator, it destroys the heart of the victim. It destroys the structure of the family. It destroys trust in society. It even destroys the perception of love and protection. And each time it is committed, it is as if a crack opens in the world. A crack that calls down divine wrath. A crack that nothing and no one can fill. Except a sincere response, justice rendered, and reparation impossible to imagine. So consider how grave this sin is. Consider why it is not cited as a simple prohibition, but as a transgression that makes the earth itself tremble. And ask yourself, before the video continues, if certain sins slowly consume your soul, what about the one that brings down the wrath of Allah on an individual, a family, an entire society? These 4 sins aren't just prohibitions. They're traps. Traps that can turn your life into spiritual ruin if you don't recognize them, if you don't avoid them, if you don't learn to close the door before it opens. If this video spoke to you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it with those you love. Because you don't know, perhaps just one reminder, just one realization can save a soul from falling. And if you want to continue receiving powerful reminders to strengthen your faith, subscribe now and ring the bell. Because this journey is only just beginning.